Good afternoon, everybody. Just let me know if you all can hear me clearly, please. All right, cool. So I'll start in a 2 minutes, okay? All right, guys. So according to my time here, it's 2:30, right? Welcome everybody to my live crash course session for the January 2021 paper, right? Which you all will be doing next week. Welcome everybody. Because I'm streaming here on YouTube, in order to interact with me or to ask any questions, you can always ask a question in the chat, right? So for those of you who, I know I would have some students here from my class who are here, right? But those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Terry David, right? I do have a popular maths channel on YouTube, which you are on right now, right? I basically have a degree in electrical and computer engineering, a management degree, as well as an MBA, right? And I'm also a past national scholarship winner in science, right? I also got the highest mark in E-level chemistry when I wrote E-levels, the highest mark in Trinidad, basically. And I'm also an author of several books that you may or may not have seen, right? I wrote the official study guides for CAPE Physics Unit 1 and 2, and also some other books that you may have seen around, right? Okay, first things first. Just if you've never heard or seen the format of how your exam is going to be like, right? You all have to do a multiple choice, right? In which you have 60 questions. You have an hour and a half to do these 60 questions, right? And this is just a breakdown of how the questions are allocated based on the how it is in the syllabus, right? So for example, you have 6 questions on number theory and computation, 8 on consumer arithmetic, and so on, right? So basically you have 60 questions to do. You do not lose any mark for answering any question wrong, right? Basically, please don't leave any question blank in the exam, right? Always put an answer. Even if you're not sure, just guess an answer. Just don't leave it blank, right? But our focus today will be focused on handling paper 2, right? Now your paper 2 is your written paper, and that paper is actually 2 hours and 40 minutes, right? You have 10 questions, all of which are compulsory, and the total mark in the paper is out of 100, right? What I'm going to be focusing on in this session here is this particular topic here, which is algebra, right? I know this is one of the challenging areas for most students, right? If you ask them to count numbers, they can do that, but as soon as you put X and Y, they have problems with that, right? Another thing here is, this is just the weighting of the papers, right? So your paper 1, your multiple choice, is actually worth 30% of your overall grade. And in the case of your paper 2, the written paper, it's worth 50%. Now there's also a paper 3, right? So most students, when they're writing maths in school, they actually have to do an SBA, right? Which is a school-based assessment. It's something that the teacher in school will give you to do, right? And then the teacher will mark it and they will give you a mark. This mark will account for 20% of your overall grade in CXC, for your CXC maths, right? Those students who are doing it privately, you have to do something called an alternative to the SBA. Now, this particular paper here, if you are writing that paper can be challenging. I've seen many students who are writing it privately, they have problems with that particular paper, right? So I'll talk more about that in a later session, right? So let's get down to some of the basics that you guys need to understand and you need to know how to do, all right? Now, in order to be able to simplify algebraic expressions, right, you need to understand directed numbers. And this is a serious challenge for many students, right? So let's look at this first one here. If we just want to work out 8 minus 6, this is simple maths. This is somebody in, let's say, standard 1, they can do this. 8 take away 6, that simply gives me 2, right? That's easy, that's straightforward. If we see something like this one here, 10 plus minus 2. Whenever you have an expression that looks like that, 10 plus minus 2, that is the same as saying 10 minus 2. And that is going to give me 8, right? Now, if you have an expression like this, minus 4 minus 2, right? If you have minus 4 minus 2, some students, they have a challenge with that, right? So one second, I just realized, okay, let's draw a quick number line here. Now, the easiest way to do questions like these are by drawing a simple number line, right? If you don't know how to work it out, a number line is the easiest way to work this out, right? So let's say we have a number line like this, minus 7, minus 8, and you wanna work out minus 4 minus 2, right? On the number line, we are starting at minus 4, right? On a number line, every time you subtract, you need to move to the left, right? And every time you add, you need to move to the right. So minus 4 minus 2 is going to do this. 1, 2. I'm moving 2 places to the right because I'm subtracting 2, right? One second, guys. I just realized what's happening to me today. Just now. Let's fix this number line here. I missed out 5 here. Minus 5, minus 6, minus 7, right? So minus 4, minus 2, I'm moving 2 places to the left. So therefore my answer is going to be minus 6, right? Now if you have something like this, 5 minus minus 2. Anytime you have to do a subtraction and you have 2 minuses in the middle here, like this, that is the same as saying 5 plus 2. And that's going to give me 7. Now, these are the things that are going to give you a challenge in the exam, right? Some students, they have problems with this. Now, that is for addition and subtraction. when it comes to directed numbers, we need to know some things about multiplication as well, especially when we have numbers that have a sign in front of them. So the first one here, 2 multiplied by 4, that's simply going to give me 6, right? I'm multiplying two positive numbers. My answer is going to be positive. If I have to work this out, minus 5 multiplied by 2, that is the same as saying 5 2s are 10, right? But because you are multiplying a negative by a positive number, my answer is going to be a negative answer. So minus 5 multiplied by 2, that gives me minus 10. If we have something like 4 multiplied by minus 3, you are multiplying a positive number by a negative number. So 4 3s will give me 12, but a positive by a negative gives me a negative number, right? This next one here, 12 divided by 2, you're dividing two positive numbers. This is going to give me 6. This next one here, we have a positive number divided by a negative number, right? 18 divided by minus 6 is going to give me minus 3. And then the last one, minus 21 divided by 7, right? You are taking a negative number and divided by a positive number. So in this case here, we're going to get minus 3 again, right? So when it comes to multiplication, you need to remember, if I take a positive number and I multiply by a positive number, my answer is going to be a positive number. If I have a positive number multiplied by a negative number, I am going to get a negative number as my answer. If I have negative multiplied by positive, I'm going to get a negative answer. But if I have a negative number and I multiply by a negative number, I'm going to get a positive number. I know for some of you all this might seem trivial, right? It is trivial, right? But there are some students who have trouble with this. Now when it comes to division now, if we have a positive number and we are dividing by a positive number, you're going to get a positive number for your answer. If you have positive divided by negative, then I'm going to get negative. If I have negative divided by a positive, you are going to get a negative. And then negative divided by negative, you're going to get a positive number, right? So these are just some rules that we need to know for directed numbers, and that is extremely important when you are doing algebra. Now, let's move on here. Let's say we want to simplify something here. Now, if I tell somebody add 4 plus 5, they will tell me 9, right? And as soon as they see x, they get confused and they be like, sir, I don't know how to do that, right? Now, that's why somebody said I made a mistake in number 1. Which one? Oh yeah, sorry about that, yes. Yeah, 4 2s are 8, not 6, right? Right, so if we have to work this out, 4x plus 5x, right? The answer is going to be 9x, right? If I have 9x minus 2x, right? You're going to get 7x, right? If we have minus 4x plus 6x, this is where students have a little challenge, right? And that's why you need to understand directed numbers. So if you have minus 4, right? So let's start at minus 4 here. Minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2. Right, so we started at minus 4x, right? So for the time being, just forget the x, right? Think of it as minus 4. So you're starting at minus 4. So we start in here, right? And then we are adding 6. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And what that does, that gives me an answer of 2. So therefore, my answer here is going to be 2x, right? Let's do the last one here. Minus 5 minus 7. Again, the easiest way to do this is to draw a number line, right? So let's start with the number line. You're starting at minus 5. So let's start here. And we are subtracting. So you have to go to the left. So minus 5, minus 6, minus 7, minus 8, minus 9, minus 10, minus 11, minus 12, and let's go minus 13, right? So you're starting at minus 5. So we're going to start here, starting at minus 5. And then what we're going to do, we are going to subtract 7. So we move in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So look at my answer here. My answer has to be minus 12, right? So if in the exam you're not sure what to do, you can draw a number line, or you can use a calculator in the paper too, right? So this is going to give me minus 12x as my answer, right? So let's complicate things a little bit now. What about if you have an expression that has different terms in it? Now when we use the word term in algebra, let's say we have something like 2x. That's a term. If we have 4xy, that's a term. Terms are separated by plus or minus signs, right? Now, this number in front of my term, this is called a coefficient, right? So if you've never heard that word, that's what that is. The number in front of, and these are called variables, right? So the number in front is what we call our coefficient. So the first one there, which is, so let's do the first one here. 4x plus 3y minus 2x plus 4y. And you want to simplify that. What we do, we bring all the like terms together. So if you look at something here, this is a term in x, and this is also a term in x. Now the sign in front of that term is important. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write all the x's first. So it's going to be 4x, right? Minus 2x. I'm not crossing any equal sign. So my minus 2x, I'm not doing anything with it. I'm just bringing the 4x and the minus 2x closer together, right? Then we are left with 3y. So it's plus 3y plus 4y. So I brought all my x's together and all my y's together. So 4x minus 2x is going to give me 2x. And then 3y plus 4y is going to give me 7y, right? So this is my answer for question 1. When you have to simplify an expression, you bring all the like terms together, you add them up or subtract them, and that's how you simplify, right? Now these are typical questions they could give you in the CSEC exam. Eh? So let's do question 2 up here now. So in this one here, we have 4 terms again. So we have a term in AB, right? We have an XAB term here. So let's bring all the ABs together. So we have 2AB plus 3xy minus 6AB minus 2xy, right? So I'm going to bring all my like terms together. So 2AB, right, minus 6AB plus 3xy minus 2xy, right? So 2AB minus 6AB. Now you could use the number line to work it out. I'm just going to work it out for you. So 2AB minus 6AB is going to give me minus 4AB, right? Then we treat with the xy terms. So 3xy minus 2xy, that is simply going to give me plus xy, right? So that's my answer for the second one. Third one, we have terms in P and we have terms in P, right? Sorry. Let me just... Right, so in this one here, we have 3 terms in P, right? And only 1 term in Q. So this is going to be minus 2P plus 3Q minus 4P plus 8P, right? So we bring all the P terms together. So this is minus 2P minus 4P plus 8P plus 3Q, right? So we have 3 terms in P this time. So minus 2P minus 4P, that's going to give me minus 6P. Minus 6P plus 8P is going to give me 2P, right? And then all we left with is plus 3Q, right? So this is how we simplify basic algebraic expressions, right? That's how we do it. Right. Now, another important thing that you guys need to remember is some rules when it comes to indices, right? So these are the rules that you guys need to know for the exam, right? So our first rule here, it's saying that if we have some number raised to some index, this is my index here, multiply by that same number raised to a different index, all we do, we add the indices. So an example of this could be if I have to multiply p cubed multiplied by p squared, then the answer is going to be p. And what we're going to do, we have to add the indices in this case here. So that is 3 plus 2, and that is going to give me p5, p to the power 5, right? So that's an example of my first rule here. So when you are multiplying and the base is the same, but the index is different, we just add the indices, right? This is important when you have to simplify expressions as well. Next one, if we have the second rule here, if we are dividing, right? That's not why there's a mistake here. It should be m minus n, right? Right, so the second rule, if we are dividing, we have to subtract the indices, right? That's what we need to do. So, if we have something like, let's say, q to the power 5 divided by q to the power 2, then my answer is going to be q cubed, because I have to subtract the indices. It's going to be 5 minus 2, right? This one here, right? And by the way, this particular one, it comes in a multiple choice paper sometimes, right? And if we have an expression that looks like this, let's say x squared, but we want to cube that, right? When you have an expression looking like that, all you need to do is to take the 2 and multiply it by the 3. So you're going to get x to the power 6, right? So pay attention to these. These come in the multiple choice. It also comes in the paper too. And then this rule here, the fourth one, anything raised to the power 0 is 1. So if you have something like this, x to the power 0, the answer is 1. Now somebody might say, well, so how are we getting that? If you have something like this, x squared divided by x squared, you know that if you divide in x squared by x squared, this will cancel with this, and I'm going to get 1 as my answer. But let's say we are doing the same x squared divided by x squared, and we use this rule here, right? The rule where we have to subtract the index. It's going to be x to the power 2 minus 2, right? Which is going to give me x to the power 0. So therefore, look, x squared over x squared is 1, and x squared over x squared is also x to the power 0. So therefore, x to the power 0 is equal to 1, right? So that's one of the rules that you need to know for indices. The next one here has to do with roots. This one here. Now, if you have something like x to the power a half, what that actually means, it means the square root of x, right? So this is something you need to know. Anything raised to the power half is actually square root. If I have something like this, x to the power 3 over 2, and I want to write that as a root form, it's going to be x cubed, and it's going to be the square root of x cubed. That's what my answer is, right? So these are 5 rules that you guys need to know, right? Now let's see how we're going to use those rules, because I believe it's I think it's a 2019 paper. There was a question that looks similar to these here. So let's look at question 1. You want to work out 4p squared q multiplied by 3p q cubed, and you want to simplify that. When you have an expression like this and you want to simplify this, all you do is you multiply the whole numbers first. So 4 3s, that's going to give me 12. Then you have a term in p here, that's p squared, and this is p. So p squared multiplied by, p to the power 1 is actually equal to p to the power 2 plus 1, which is equal to p cubed, right? So therefore this here is going to be 12p cubed. Then we treat with the q. You have q multiplied by q cubed. So that's q to the power 1 multiplied by q cubed. So we have to add indices. So this is 1 plus 3, and that is going to give me q to the power 4, right? So therefore my answer is 12p cubed q to the power 4, right? This is a typical examination question, guys, right? Question 2. You want to work out 12a squared b divided by 2ab cubed, right? So here's what we're doing here. 12 divided by 2, that gives me 6. And a squared divided by a, right? Because you are dividing, that is the same as saying a squared divided by a to the power 1. So therefore that'll be a to the power 2 minus 1, which is going to give me a to the 1, which is e. So therefore all I'm putting here is just e. Next one, we're going to work out b divided by b cubed. So let's do that in our working column. B divided by b cubed, right? And that's going to give me b to the power 1 minus 3, which is going to give me b to the minus 2, right? So you can give your answer as b to the minus 2, but there's a rule that says this. Anything raised to the power minus n is equal to 1 over a to the n, right? So this is another rule here that you need to be aware of, right? So I can write my answer as 6a over b squared, right? So this is another way we can write our answer, 6a over b squared. So that's the answer for question 2. The third one now, you want to work out 2x squared y multiplied by 4x cubed y squared. So again, you multiply the whole numbers first. So 2 by 4, that gives me 8. X squared by x cubed, you're going to add the indices. So it's going to be 2 plus 3. So this is going to give me x to the 5th. And then the y, you're multiplying y by y squared. When you add the indices, it's going to be 1 plus 2. So this is going to give me y cubed. So that's my answer for the third one. Question 4 now. You want to work out 36 p squared q to the power 4 divided by 9 p cubed, right? So again, what we do first is divide the numbers. So 36 divided by 9, that's going to give me 4. We are dividing p squared by p. So if we subtract the indices, it'll be 2 minus 1. So therefore, this is 4p. And then in terms of q now, q fourth divided by q cubed. You subtract the indices. So you're going to get 4 take away 3, which is 1. So my answer is simply 4p cubed, right? Now, another important thing that you guys need to know, you need to know about the distributive law. Now, this is important because this is how we remove brackets, right? So let's say we have to do this. 4 multiplied by 2x plus y, and you want to multiply this. What I typically do in class all the time, I show my students what I'm doing, right? So what we're doing here is we are taking the number on the outside and multiplying by everything that is on the inside. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take the 4 and multiply by 2x, and then we're going to take the 4 and we're going to multiply by this. So 4 multiplied by 2x is going to give me 8x, and then 4 by y is going to give me plus 4y. So this is how we use the distributive law to simplify or to remove brackets. The second one, we have 5 multiplied by 4x minus 3y. Again, you're going to take this term, the 5, and multiply by the 4x. Then you're going to take this 5 and multiply by the 3y. So 5 fours, that's going to give me 20x. Let's erase this here. Right, so 5 fours, that's going to give me 20x. And then 5 multiplied by minus 3y, that's going to give me minus 15y. Right? And that's my answer there. Third one, we have 2a multiplied by p minus 3q. Again, draw your arrows if you want to understand what you're doing. So it's 2a multiplied by p and then 2a multiplied by 3q. So 2a by p is 2ap, and then 2a by minus 3q will give me minus 6aq, right? That's how we simplify that. So that's number 3. Then number 4 now, we have 4p squared q multiplied by 2p plus 3p cubed. Again, distributive law. You need to say this multiplied by this, and then this multiplied by this. Now be careful when you're multiplying this one. So you're multiplying 4p squared q multiplied by 2p. 4 by 2, that gives me 8. P squared by p is going to give me p cubed. And all we left with here is q. So that's what we have here. Plus 4p squared q multiplied by 3pq. 4 3's will give me 12. P squared by p will give me p cubed. And q by q is going to give me q squared. Right? Now, I know for some of you all, I might be moving a little fast, right? You all can always go back to the video, right? So I have a certain amount that I want to cover. So question 5. This one is a little longer now. So we have 2, and we have a bracket here, 2x plus 4, and we have minus 3 open brackets, x minus 2y, right? So what we're going to do here, we have 2 different brackets. So we know we have to do this. 2 multiplied by 2x, and then 2 multiplied by plus 4. Now you have to be, you see this one here, this is what CSEC will give you to try to mess you up. So it's minus 3 multiplied by x, and minus 3 multiplied by minus 2y. So let's work out the first brackets. So 2 by 2x is going to give me 4x, and then 2 by 4 is going to give me 8. Then we have minus 3 multiplied by x, it's going to give me minus 3x. And then minus 3 by 2y is going to give me plus 6y, right? Be careful with this one. This is what CSEC will give you to mess you up, right? But we're not finished yet, because you have a term in x here. You have a y term, so you can still simplify. So you could do this, 4x minus 3x, right? Plus 8 plus 6y. 4x minus 3x is going to give me x plus 8 plus 6y, right? And that's my solution to that. Now, let's look at some, what do I have here? Right, so these that I have here, these are actual examination questions, right? And this is how they ask the question here. Expand and simplify. So what we're going to do, just like in the previous example, we're going to use the distributive law. So you're going to say this multiplied by this, then this by this, then this by this, and then this by this. So that's my process. That's what I'm doing. So 2x multiplied by x is going to give me 2x squared. Then 2x by plus 5 is going to give me plus 10x. Next thing, we're going to remove the second bracket now. Minus 3 by x is going to give me minus 3x. And then minus 3 multiplied by minus 4 is going to give me plus 12. You have to be careful with these ones, right? So this is going to give me 2x squared. You have 10x and 3x, so you can simplify that. That's going to give me plus 7x plus 12. And that's my answer for this one. This is another type of question that they ask in the exam, where you have to add 2 fractions, algebraic fractions, and write it as a single fraction, right? Some students have problems with this. So here's how you do this. And guys, please, when you're writing your answers in the exam, try to write as neat as you possibly can, right? I'm not the best writer out there, but I try to write neat when I'm doing maths, right? So let's look at this one here. The first thing that we need to do when you have to add 2 algebraic fractions, we need to find the LCM of these 2 numbers here. In this case here, we have 2 and we have 5. So those are 2 prime numbers, right? So therefore, the LCM of 2 and 5 is going to be 10. That's my LCM. So here's what you do in your working column. I'm going to say 2 into 10 is how much? So 2 into 10 is the same as saying 10 divided by 2. That's going to give me 5. Now when I get that answer, what I'm going to do is take that 5 and multiply by this numerator. So it's going to be 5, open brackets, x plus 1, right? You're going to write back whatever this sign was here. It's a plus sign, so you're going to put plus. Your next step is to say this 5 can go into this 10 how many times? So that's going to be 10 divided by 5, right? That's going to give me 2. But what do I do with that 2? We're going to take this 2 and we're going to multiply by this numerator here. So that's going to be 2 multiplied by 5 minus x. So essentially, we are adding 2 fractions just like we add any normal fraction, right? So what we need to do on top now, we need to simplify. You have 2 sets of brackets that you need to remove. So it's going to be 5 by this x, then 5 by this 1, 2 by this 5, and then 2 by this here. So 5 multiplied by x is going to give me 5x plus 5. Then 2 by 5 is going to give me plus 10. And then 2 by minus x is going to give me minus 2x. And all of this is over 10, right? Notice that I'm putting my equal sign under equal sign. When you're writing up your answers, you need to lay out your answer properly so that the examiner can follow what you are doing. If the examiner follows what you're doing, in the event that you make a mistake, you can still get full marks to the question, guys? So please show all your working. Now, in order to simplify the numerator, you bring your x's together. So I have this 5x and I have this 2x here. So 5x minus 2x, that's going to give me 3x. And then 5 plus 10 is going to give me 15. And then we divide in all of this by 10. So that's my answer there. So that's how we express those as a single fraction. Now I'm going to do some more of those because students have problems understanding how we do these questions, right? Yes, I realize I put the same question twice. Let's do this one. Okay, so this one here. We want to add these two fractions, so you put your equal sign again. First thing we need to do, we need to look at the denominators. You have 3 and 4. The LCM of 3 and 4, that is actually 12, right? So in your working column, you're going to say 3 into 12. That is 12 divided by 3. That gives me 4. Then this number, we're going to take this and multiply by this numerator. So that's going to be 4, open brackets, x minus 3. You're going to put back whatever your sign is here. It's a plus sign. You're going to put a plus sign there. Then we're going to say 4 can go into 12 how many times? So that is the same as saying 12 divided by 4, and that's going to give me 3. So we're going to take this number here and multiply by this numerator. So that's going to be 3 multiplied by x plus 2. Now we need to remove the brackets on top. So this is 4 by x, then 4 by minus 3, plus 3 by x, and then plus 3 by 2. So on the numerator, we're going to have 4x minus 12 plus 3x plus 6 divided by 12. Again, the terms in x, you have 4x and you have 3x, so that is going to give me 7x. And then minus 12 plus 6, right, is going to give me minus 6, and that is going to be divided by 12. So again, this is how I simplify an algebraic fraction, right? So I know I'm moving a little fast, guys. Are you all okay? Are you all following, right? You can always go back to the video. Right. Now, this is another question they can ask you to expand and simplify, right? This is an exam question as well. So here's how you do something like this when you have two brackets. So when you have to multiply two brackets, what you are doing, you are taking the first term in the first bracket and multiply by every single thing in the second bracket. That's your first step. The next step you're going to do, you're going to take the second term in the first bracket and multiply by everything in the second bracket, right? So what we're going to do, 2x multiplied by 3x is going to give me 6x squared, right? But then we have to multiply 2x by minus 4. That is minus 8x. Now we're doing the bottom arrows now. 5 multiplied by 3x will give me 15x, right? And then we have 5 multiplied by minus 4, which is going to give me minus 20, right? So therefore, what we're going to do now, we're going to basically simplify this, right? And so this is going to be 6x squared, and minus 8 plus 15 is going to give me plus 7x minus 20, right? So this is how we expand and simplify two brackets. Now I have some space here, so I'll do another one for you guys. Let's say 2x minus 4, and let's say we have 3x plus 5, right? Let's say we want to expand this here. So if you want to expand these brackets, these two brackets, you do the same thing. The first term by every single term in the second bracket, right? So if you want, you can work that out one time. 2x multiplied by 3x is going to give me 6x squared, and then 2x by 5 is going to give me plus 10x, right? The next step, you're going to take this minus 4 and multiply by this, and then we're going to take this minus 4 and multiply by 5. So minus 4 multiplied by 3x is going to give me minus 12x, and then minus 4 by 5 is going to give me minus 20, right? So this is going to be 6x squared 10x minus 12x will give me minus 2x, and then this is minus 20. So this is my answer when I remove these two brackets, right? Right, so that is expanding and simplifying algebraic expressions, right? Now, what you guys need to be able to do as well is to solve equations, right? Now, simplifying algebraic expressions, there are no equal signs, right? If you look back at all these questions here, they said expand and simplify, right? You won't solve in for anything. In these expressions here, or these equations, sorry, what you are doing, you are solving them. Notice the question is saying solve, right? Which means you are finding a value for x which satisfies this equation. Now, when you have an equation like this, right, what you have to do, you notice this equation only has x's and it has numbers. So the easiest thing to do is to put all your numbers on one side and put all your x's on one side. So look at this. So on the left hand side, we have 3x, but I have a minus 2x here. So let's move this minus 2x onto the right hand side, and you're going to get plus 2x. Put your equal sign on the equal sign. You have 12 here. You're not doing anything with it as yet. This this plus 2, if I carry it to the right hand side, it's going to become minus 2. So 3x plus 2x, that gives me 5x. And 12 minus 2, that's going to give me 10. So therefore, x is equal to, in order to get rid of this 5, I need to divide both sides of the equation by 5. So this is 10 over 5, and therefore my answer is equal to 2. Right? So notice I got an answer, I got a value for x. That's what I mean when we solve an equation, right? Let's look at this one here now. So this first one that we did there, that's straightforward. Most students are able to work that out. But even though this middle one here is simple, some students have problems with this. They're like, wow, so I don't even know where to start with that. Because when they see fractions, they get confused. So here's what you do. Since you have two open brackets, x minus 1 is equal to 5 over 2, the best thing to do is to do this. Put 2 open brackets, x minus 1 over 1. I can write any variable or any number as a fraction. X can be written as x over 1. If I have the number 2, that could be written as 2 over 1. So notice I'm writing it as a fraction, right? Anything divided by 1 will give you back the same number. So 2 open brackets, x minus 1 divided by 1, it's the same thing. I'm not really changing anything. I'm just writing it as a fraction. So this is 5 over 2. Now we can kind of do something here. If you have a fraction equal to another fraction, the easiest thing for you to do is to cross multiply. So you say this multiplied by this is equal to this multiplied by this. Now, what does that mean? It means that I can take my 2 and multiply it by 2 open brackets x minus 1 is equal to 5 multiplied by 1. I am just cross multiplying. That's all I'm doing. Nothing complicated. I'm just cross multiplying. So 2 multiplied by 2 is going to give me 4 open brackets x minus 1 is equal to 5. Now I can solve this very easily. So 4 by x and then 4 by minus 1, because I have to use the distributive law to remove the brackets. So this is going to give me 4x minus 4 is equal to 5. Therefore, 4x, you need to get rid of this minus 4 on the left side. So it's going to be 5 plus 4. So therefore, 4x is equal to 9. And therefore, x is equal to 9 over 4. Right? So my answer for this question is 9 over 4. Right? So pay attention to this question. Right? CXC loves to bring things like that because they know students have trouble with it. Right? Let's do this one here now. So we have 15 minus 4x is equal to 2 open brackets 3x plus 1. So we know we're going to have to remove this bracket before we do anything. So this is going to be 15 minus 4x is equal to 2 by 3x will give me 6x and 2 by 1 will give me 2. Next thing we need to do, we need to bring all your x's on one side. So I'm going to put minus 4x because it's already on the left side. Minus 6x is equal to, you have a 2 on the side already. We need to carry this 15 on the next side. So this is going to be minus 15. Minus 4x minus 6x is going to give me minus 10x, which is equal to 2 minus 15 should give me minus 13, right? So this here is minus 13. Now, in order to get x now, what we do in here is we're going to have to divide by minus 10. So this is minus 13 divided by minus 10. But I told you all a little while ago, when you divide two negative numbers, you're going to get a positive number. So this is simply going to be 13 divided by 10. You can leave your answers this way. Some of you all might put 1.3 as the answer. That's fine, right? So these are simple equations. They can ask you to solve in the exam. Let's look at this one here. This one here is also a solve, right? It's not one that they always bring, but you need to be aware as to how we're going to work this out. So this is how I typically tell my students to work this out, right? So 2x minus 3 over 3 plus 5 minus x over 2 is equal to, because this is a fraction, I want to write this as a fraction as well. So I'm going to write that as 3 over 1, right? Now you have to ask yourself, I don't want to work in fractions here. So what I will do, you have this 3 here, you have this 2 here, and you have 1 here. The LCM of those numbers would be 6. So all I do is multiply every single term by 6, right? So it's going to be 6 multiplied by 2x minus 3 over 3 plus, right? Let's put this in a bracket here so we don't confuse ourselves. And then we're going to say 6 multiplied by 5 minus x over 2, close brackets, equal to 6 multiplied by 3 over 1, right? Now this is a challenging question for many students. So what I'm going to do now, this 3 can go into the 6 2 times. So therefore this is going to be 2 open brackets 2x minus 3. I'm going to put back my plus sign. This 2 can go into the 6 3 times. And this is going to give me 3, 5 minus x, equal sign under equal sign, 6 3 is 18. Now we can start working out this question now, using my distributive law. So this by this, this by this, this by this, this by this, right? So that is 4x, 2 by minus 3 gives me minus 6, plus 15 minus 3x is equal to 18, right? So bring all the x's on one side. So the only x we have on one side will be 4x minus 3x is equal to 18, and carry all the numbers on the right hand side. So this will be plus 6 minus 15. So therefore 4x minus 3x is going to give me x. So when I work this out, so that is 18 plus 6 minus 15, and I'm going to get 9 as my answer, right? So I'm getting 9 as the answer here. So this is how you solve a question like this, right? Right, sometimes in these type of algebra questions, they give you inequalities that you need to solve, right? So this is question 1, 2, and question 3. So if you have to solve something like this, the first one, 3x minus 4 is less than or equal to 2, right? What you do, you solve these questions just like how you solve a normal equation, right? It's just that when you divide or multiply by minus 1, you have to remember to change your sign. So let me show you what I mean. So this one will be simple. 3x is less than or equal to 2 plus 4, right? So therefore 3x is less than or equal to 6. So therefore x is less than or equal to 6 over 3. So therefore x is less than or equal to 2, right? And what I notice CSEC does, they tell you to represent this solution on a number line, right? So if it's less than 2, you draw a number line and you put 2 here. You're going to put a circle here. It's less than or equal, so we need to shade the circle. And let's put this 1, put this as 0, put this as 3. And therefore, if we have to represent that on a number line, it's going to be an arrow pointing to the left, right? That's how we solve a question like that. Question 2 now is the one you need to be careful with. 25 minus 6x is less than 7, right? So we start off solving like normal. So minus 6x is less than 7 minus 25. So therefore minus 6x is less than or equal to 7 minus 25 gives me minus 18. Now this is the part that you need to pay attention to. in order to solve for x, I must divide both sides of my equation by -6. But when you are dividing by a minus number, right, what you need to do, you have to remember to change the sign. So if I divide by -6, I'm going to end up with x, but I have to change the sign to a greater than sign. And then this is going to be -18 divided by -6, which is going to give me 3 as my answer, right? So pay attention to this. This is important, right? And again, they will ask you to draw this on a number line. So if this is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we want greater than 3, so what you do, you put a circle by the 3, but you're not going to shade it because it's not x greater than or equal to. And it's greater than, so therefore it has to be pointing to the right. Okay? So that's how we do a question like this. And this one here, right? A question like this came recently and some students had trouble working this out. So here's how we do a question like this. So this is the third one. We have 12 less than or equal to 2x minus 1 less than 5, right? So in order to solve this, right, you realize, wait, I have two sets of signs in this question, right? So don't touch the signs as yet. What we're going to do, we're going to manipulate the middle part here. So you have a -1. So in order to get rid of that -1, you're going to add 1 to every single part of this equation here. So that's my first step. I'm going to add 1. So therefore, this is going to be 12 plus 1 less than or equal to -1 plus 1 is going to give me 0. So all I'm going to have in the middle now is 2x. And this is going to be 5 plus 1, right? So therefore, this is 6. This here is 2x. And this here is also 6, right? The next step now, I want to solve for x, right? So we need to get rid of this 2 here. So therefore, my next step is to divide by 2. So 6 divided by 2. Let's now make sure I didn't make a mistake here. Alright, just now. This was supposed to be a -12 here, right? So let's put that as -12. So -12 plus 1. Let's just fix that there, right? The question wouldn't make sense. Right. So -12 plus 1 here, right, will give me -11, right? That's what it'll give me here. Now, in order to get rid of this 2, like I said, we're going to divide by 2. So this is -11 divided by 2 is, and this is going to be x, and this here is going to be 3. So this is how we solve an equation, an inequality, that's what we call these, an inequality that looks like this, right? There was a question recently that came on this. I think it was the 2019 paper. So be aware of how we solve an equation like this. Right? This is our next exam question here. And we want to solve 3 minus 2x is less than 7. So minus 2x is less than 7 minus 3. So minus 2x is less than, and 7 minus 3 is 4. So therefore x, we're going to divide by -2. So you have to remember, wait, I need to change the sign, right? So 4 divided by -2 is going to give me -2, right? And they said x is a whole number, determine the smallest value that satisfies the inequality, right? So therefore, if x is greater than -2, then the smallest value for x has to be -3, right? Right, so the next thing you guys need to be able to do is to substitute variables inside an expression, right? So in this question here, these are all exam questions, by the way. So A is 6, B is -4, and C is 8. And they want us to work out this expression here. So the expression is A squared plus B divided by C minus B, right? All I'm doing here is substituting these numbers here as A, B, and C. So A is 6. So therefore, this here is going to be 6 squared plus B, which is -4, all over C minus B. C is actually equal to 8 minus B, which is -4, right? So let's work this out. 6 is at 36, right? When you have plus minus, it's going to be a minus. so that is minus 4. And at the bottom you have 8 minus minus 4, that's the same as saying 8 plus 4, right? So 36 minus 4 gives me 32, and we're going to divide that by 12, right? So 32 divided by 12, right? What you're going to get is 2 and 2/3 as my answer, right? So this is how we substitute. This is a common question that they bring in the paper. Let's do one more example here. For part 1, as this question here, we want to work out AB minus BC. So AB minus BC, you know what A is, and you know what B is, and you know what C is. So A is 2, so this is 2 multiplied by B, which is minus 3, minus B, which is minus 3 again, multiplied by C, which is 4. So this is 2 by minus 3 gives me minus 6, minus, and minus 3 by 4 gives me minus 12. So that is minus 6 minus minus 12, which is the same as saying minus 6 plus 12. And that is going to give me 6 as my answer, right? Minus 6 plus 12 will give me 6. And then the last part, part 2, you want to work out B, open brackets, A minus C squared. So B in this case is minus 3, and A minus C will be 2 minus 4 all squared. So this is minus 3 multiplied by 2 minus 4 gives me minus 2, and I'm going to square this, right? So that is the same as saying minus 3 multiplied by minus 2 squared is going to give me 4, and then minus 3 by 4 will give me minus 12. Right. Just give me a sec. Right, so that is substituted, right? Oh, and this is just a reminder for you guys who don't know. I do teach online, fully online, maths, chemistry, and physics, both for Form 4 and for Form 5, right? This is basically my schedule at the moment, right? So on a Tuesday and Thursday, I have maths for Form 4 and Form 5. On a Wednesday, we have physics with the Form 5. Saturday morning is physics with the Form 4s. And on a Saturday, we have chemistry, right? In terms of online classes, my classes will permanently be online. I also have my own platform, which is similar to what our ministry in Trinidad here uses. Right, so all the exam quizzes, all the notes, all of those things can be found on my website, right? How it works is that one payment is made, an account is created for you guys, so I can monitor your progress over a period of time, so your parents know what's going on as well, right? So anyways, back to this. The next most important thing that you guys need to be able to do, you need to be able to factorize. That is something that is very important, and there are 4 different types of factorization questions that I can give you. Right? The first one is called the HCF method. The second one is called the difference of two squares. The third one is factorizing by grouping. And the fourth one is a quadratic. Right? Now in the exam, you have to be able to identify what method am I going to use or how am I going to factorize it. So this one here, we have 4x squared minus 25. Right? Now there is a particular type of factorization we use. So if you have something like this, a squared minus b squared, when I factorize this, it's going to be a plus b into a minus b, right? This is one of the easiest factorizing they can give you in the exam. If your expression looks like this, then when I factorize it, I'm just going to get 2 brackets. One is going to have a positive and the next one is going to have a negative, right? And to identify if we're going to use this method, typically we must have 2 terms and there must be a minus sign between them. So this first one here looks like it's that, 4x squared minus 25. And what I'm going to do first of all is write it like this. 4x squared could be written as 2x all squared. 25 could be written as 5 squared. So if you look carefully, wait a minute, this looks like this. So my answer is going to be 2x plus 5 multiplied by 2x minus 5, right? This is what this is going to be. Second one, the next type of factorizing that you can easily identify if it is factorizing by grouping. If it is factorizing by grouping, you are typically going to see 4 terms. And look at this, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So that's already telling me that, hey, this might be factorizing by grouping. So let's write down the expression. So it's 6p minus 9ps plus 4q minus 6qs, right? Now when you're factorizing by grouping, what you need to do, you need to bring terms together that have something common in them, right? So if we look at this 6p here, and we look at this 9ps here, the HCF is what we're going to use here. What is the highest number that can go into these two things? The highest number that can go into 6 and 9 is actually 3. The highest variable that can go, you have p here and you have p here, so we can pull out this p here, right? So I'm going to go open brackets. Now you have to ask yourself, 3p multiplied by what will give me 6p? 3p multiplied by 2 will give me 6p. You're going to put back your minus sign. Now, 3p multiplied by what will give me 9? You must put a 3 here because you want to get back 9. And you're not going to put a p here because you already have a p on the outside. So all you're missing here is an s, right? Now, what I tell my students in class, don't put a sign here as yet, right? Because you're not sure what sign you're going to get there as yet. So look at this term and look at this term. So the HCF of 4 and 6 is going to be 2, right? And you can pull out a q as well because you have q common to them. So therefore, what I'm going to have here is 2 minus, and you want to get 6, so therefore this has to be 3 and this has to be s. Now when you're factorizing by grouping, right, one of the things to remember is that you see this bracket and this bracket has to be the same, right? So now you have to ask yourself, what sign am I going to put here? So if you look carefully, you want to get plus 4q. So therefore this has to be a positive sign here, right? Now, your final answer, what you do, you write the common bracket, which is 2 minus 3s. And the next bracket is going to be made up of this 3p and this plus 2q. So this is 3p plus 2q. So that's my answer here. And this is how we do factorizing by grouping. Now, guys, you're going to have to practice these things in order to be able to do it. You're going to have to practice these things, right? The next one we're going to factorize here is this third one here, right? Now, you see this here? This is a common problem that students have when you have something like this, right? This sign here has to be a plus, it's not a negative. Now, the third one here, we factorize in a quadratic. This is another one that students have problems with. Now, there are some students who can just look at this and factorize it in one shot, right? And that's fine. You can do that if you want. You will get the marks in the exam, right? But typically what I do, I give my students a foolproof method, right? This is what we call a quadratic. This is my coefficient of my x squared. This is my coefficient of x, and this is my constant. Now, when it comes to a quadratic, right, we call these A, B, and we call this C, right? Now, in order to factorize this, I need to find two numbers whose sum is equal to whatever B is. So my sum is 4, and my product is equal to this A multiplied by this C. Now, this is how I do it in class. This is how I teach my students how to do it. So that any quadratic they get, they can factorize it. So 3 multiplied by minus 4 will give me minus 12. So now in my mind now, I need to find two numbers whose sum is 4 and whose product is minus 12. So you have to think about it a little bit, right? Can you all tell me what those two numbers are? Right, so I'm seeing somebody already worked it out, right? And yes, you can do that. You can do that in the exam, right? CSEC doesn't require plenty working for this. Some students can just jump from the quadratic and factorize it in one go. So here's what the two numbers are. If I have 6 and I have minus 2, if I take 6 and I multiply by minus 2, I'm going to get minus 12. And then if I have 6 plus minus 2, I'm going to get minus 4. Right? So these are the two numbers I'm looking for. when you get these two numbers, what you're going to do, you're going to replace the middle term. That's this term here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite this as 3x squared plus 6x minus 12x minus 4. Right? Now some students, some of you all may have never seen this before. Whatever method you're accustomed using, go ahead and use that. Right? So now what I'm going to do now is factorize this by grouping, and I'm going to get the answer in the end. So you have 3x squared plus 6x. So my HCF here is going to be 3x multiplied by x plus 2, right? And then I'm going to factorize this piece here. The only thing I have common there is the 4, and this is going to be, one second guys, I feel I have a mistake here. So 4x minus 4. One sec, just give me a sec here, right? Okay, so sum is 4, product 4 3s are minus 12, 6 2s are minus 12 plus 6x. Oh wait, no, I made a mistake here. I don't see any mistake. This here is not 12, this is minus 2. Right, so that's minus 2, so therefore, let me just fix this. Right, so the only thing common here, we can only pull out 2, right? So if we pull 2 out here, then this is going to be x, and we know the signs have to be the same. We know that the signs have to be the same. So therefore this is going to be plus 2, right? So therefore the sign that I need to put here has to be a minus sign. So my final answer is going to be x plus 2 by 3x minus 2, right? So x plus 2, 3x minus 2. Right? So pay attention to how you solve a quadratic. If you are not sure how to solve a quadratic, you're going to have to practice, right? Let's do some more factorizing. So let's look at this one. By the way, all of these are exam questions. These are not questions I made up. Right? So part 1, you want to work out 2x cubed minus 8x. Now, whenever your CSEC does this, factorize completely. That's a hint. When they say completely, that's a hint. That means there's a trick somewhere in these questions. So look at this question here. You have 2x cubed minus 8x, right? The HCF in this case here, we can pull out 2. You can pull out x, right? And what you're going to end up with here is x squared minus 4, right? And some students might be like, okay, well, I finished factorized, that's the answer. Unfortunately, there is more to do with this question here. Because you see this x squared minus 4, that is what we call the difference of two squares. Right? So this is going to be 2x. That's not, guys. My pen is giving me a little trouble here. Right. So this is 2x here, but this x squared minus 4, this x squared minus 4 that you have in bracket there, that is actually the difference of two squares. This is actually x squared minus 2 squared. So that can be factorized to give me x plus 2 by x minus 2, right? So this is x plus 2, x minus 2. So in the exam, if you had just stopped here, you wouldn't have gotten full marks for this question. You need to put this here because this bracket could be factorized further, right? Now let's look at the part 2, which is a quadratic, which is 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. Right? Again, I'm going to use my same method I used just now. So this here is A, this here is B, and this here is my C. So I'm looking for two numbers whose sum, right, is equal to whatever B is. So in this case, it's minus 5. And whose product is equal to this. We have to multiply A and C. So that's 3 multiplied by minus 2, which will give me minus 6. So I'm looking for two numbers whose product is minus 6, but whose sum is minus 5, right? I'll make sure I write that correctly. 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. What two numbers am I looking for here? The sum of the two numbers will give me minus 5, and the product of those two numbers will give me minus 6. Right, I see Shiri saying minus 6 and 1. I think that might be right. So she's saying minus 6 and 1, right? Let's see. So let's add minus 6 and 1. Minus 6 plus 1 gives me minus 5, and minus 6 multiplied by 1, right, that gives me minus 6. So that's good. So what we're going to do now, your next step is to replace your middle term. So you're replacing the minus 5x, but what you're going to put is minus 6x plus x minus 2. So I've replaced my middle term. Instead of the minus 5x, I've replaced it with these two terms. So now you're going to factorize by grouping. So you can pull out 3x, and this is going to be x minus 2, right? And then you have x minus plus x minus 2. In a scenario like this, what you will do is there's nothing common between the x and the minus 2. So all we're going to do is pull out 1. So this is going to be x minus 2 here. And the sign that I'm going to put here has to be a plus sign. So therefore my answer when I factorize this will be x minus 2 into 3x plus 1, right? Alright, so depending on how much time we have, I'll come back and do some more factorizing, right? Now, the next thing you guys need to be able to do is to solve a pair of simultaneous equations, right? Now, simultaneous equations can be solved in different ways. They can be solved by substitution, elimination, even drawing a graph and find where the two lines intersect. Now, if you see a question like this in the exam, chances are they want you to use substitution or elimination to work this out, right? CSEC, I've never seen them specify which method to use. You need to be familiar with both methods. So when you have a question like this, what you should do is label your two equations first of all. So call this equation 1 and call this equation 2. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use elimination to solve this question here. Now, you have x and y. At the end of all of this, you want to find a value for x and find a value for y that satisfies both equations. So I can either eliminate y or I can eliminate x, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to eliminate y, right? So my equation 1 looks like this. It says 2x plus 3y is equal to 9, right? That's my first equation. My second equation, if I want to eliminate y, I need to make this equal to 3y. So I'm going to take my equation 2, right, and multiply by 3, right? I'm going to take my equation 2, let me put the label on the outside. I'm going to put my equation 2 and multiply by 3. So therefore I'm going to get 3 3s are 9x minus 3y is equal to 8 3s are 24, right? So now I'm working with the same equation 1 here, and this here is, I'm going to call that equation 3. So these are my two equations I'm going to use to solve this. Now here's the problem that some students have. If you are trying to eliminate y, do I add or do I subtract equation 1 and 2? That's a question for you. So I want to know, should I add or should I subtract the two equations? What should I do? So my question is, do I add or do I subtract my two equations? I want to eliminate y. Right? So I seen you all saying subtract. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. Some students might want to add the equations, right? But if you want to eliminate y, look, you have 3y here and you have minus 3y here. The only way I can eliminate y is by adding my two equations. So what we're going to do, we're going to say equation 1 plus my equation, the third equation, right? So 2x plus 9x is going to give me 11x, and 3, that's not, I wrote the wrong thing. We are subtracting. Yeah, we are subtracting. Sorry about that. I've seen. One sec, right? So we are subtracting, right? That's how we're gonna eliminate the y. So 2x minus 9x will give me minus 7x, right? And 3y minus 3y. Hold up. You know, I just watch your answers and I say correct, it's wrong. I just watch your chat and I watch your answers and I say, yeah, you're correct, but that's wrong. We're supposed to add, sorry. That is not a subtraction. We need to add, right? So we're supposed to add because, watch. 3y plus minus 3y is going to equal to 0, right? But if you do this, some of you all told me to add, right? Minus 3y. I'm going to get 6y. So therefore, this can't be correct. This had to be wrong. So we're going to add the two equations. So 2x plus 9x is going to give me 11x is equal to 9 plus 24, right? And that's going to give me 33. So this is 33. So therefore, x is equal to 33 divided by 11. So therefore, x is equal to 3. So I've done one part of it. I've solved for x, right? But you see that same mistake that you all did there where you try to subtract, right? Just now, Asha is saying she is confused. Look at this here. You want to eliminate y, right? If you have 3y in this equation here, and you have minus 3y here, right? And you want to eliminate y, we should add them. Because 3y, look at this. 3y plus minus 3y is going to give me 0. So therefore, I am eliminating y. If you all were to subtract the equations, it would have been 3y minus 3y, which is the same as saying 3y plus 3y, and you're getting 6. So this here is not eliminating y at all. You're ending up with 6y. So therefore, we have to add the two equations. So now that you have x equal 3, you have the option. You can substitute in any one of the equations you want. So let's say, so substitute equation, substitute right, so we substitute in x equal to right, so we substitute in x equal to into equation, any one of the equations you want, you'll get the answer, right? So I'm going to go back to my original equation 1. So this is going to be 2 multiplied by 3 plus 3y is equal to 9. So 3 to the 6 plus 3y is equal to 9. So 3y is equal to 9 minus 6. So 3y is equal to 9 minus 6 gives me 3. And therefore y is equal to 3 over 3. So y is equal to 1, right? So these are my solutions. X equal 3 and y is equal to 1. Yes, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this person's name correctly here. Damik, right? Yes, you want them to add up to give you 0. Because if you get it equal to 0, it means you've eliminated them, right? So I have some more here, but I'll come back to those after, right? I just want to go through what I intended to cover in this class, right? The next thing that you guys have to be able to do is to change the subject of the formula, right? And it's one of the most important topics in maths that you need to understand. Now, when you have an equation, they might give you an equation in the exam, right? And they said make V the subject of the formula. What that means is that they want v equal to something. That's what they want. V is equal to something. Now, when students, and by the way, this is a recent exam question. Now, when students are given fractions, that gives them trouble. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write the equation as it's a half mv squared. So that is the same as saying mv squared over 2. I have done nothing there. All I've done is put the 2 over the mv squared, right? But because I have fractions, I don't like to work in fractions. So that e could be written as e over 1. Now, I did a question like this similar to what you guys just now, right? All we do is we cross multiply. But you want to make v the subject of the formula. So I'll multiply mv squared by 1 and write it on this side. So mv squared is equal to 2e, right? You want to get v. So v squared is equal to 2e divided by m. And therefore v is equal to, if you have v squared equal to something, what you need to do is to find the square root on both sides. So this is equal to 2e over m, right? So this is just one example of changing the subject of the formula. Let's do our next one. So this is probably the hardest one they could give you in the exam if you see something like this. And it's like this. T is equal to 2 pi multiplied by the square root of L over G, right? When you have an expression like this, what you should do first is get rid of the 2 pi. So this is, in order to get rid of the 2 pi, we need to divide by 2 pi. So therefore, T is equal to 2 pi square root L over G. Now, whenever you have a square root in an equation, all you do is to square both sides, and that will get rid of the square root sign for you. So therefore, what I'm going to do here is put T over 2 pi squared, and the square root sign on the right hand side is going to disappear. This is going to be L over G, right? Then I'm going to square this, so this is becoming T squared over, when you square 2 pi, this is going to be 4 pi squared is equal to L over G. Now, what do we, make sure we understand what we're trying to make the subject. You're trying to get L. So L is equal to something. Again, just like in the previous question, we're going to cross multiply because you have a fraction equal to a fraction. So this is 4 pi squared L is equal to G multiplied by T squared. So therefore, if we want to get L, it's simply GT squared over 4 pi squared, right? So that's my answer. So again, guys, this is going to require practice, right? I can't give you every single scenario where they can ask you to change the subject of the formula. Right, so this one here came in January 2020. This question is from the January 2020 paper. They gave you an equation here, and you want to make k the subject of the formula. So let's do that. So we have 2a is equal to pi k squared plus 3t, right? Now, if you want to make k the subject of the formula, the easiest thing, or what you should do, is to get k on the left-hand side. Now, what I would do here is do this. Say pi k squared plus 3t is equal to 2a. And then some student might say, sir, how come you move on the left-hand side and you didn't change the sign? And then I will show them this. I will ask you something like this. If I have, let's say 4 plus 1 is equal to 3 plus 2, right? That's like 5 equal to 5. I could also write this and say, here what? 3 plus 2 is equal to 4 plus 1. And these two statements are true. And I have not changed the sign at all. If you have 2a is equal to pi k squared plus 3t, then it also means that pi k squared plus 3t is equal to 2a. That's why I'm not changing the sign, right? And you want to make k the subject, so the first thing to do is to get rid of that 3t. So this is pi k squared is equal to 2a minus 3t, and k squared is equal to 2a minus 3t over pi, right? And if you want to get k, all you need to do is to find the square root of every single thing here. So that's 2a minus 3t over pi, and that's my answer, right? Now, guys, changing the subject of the formula is something that gives students problems, right? When I was in Form 3 or something, so I had problems doing this, right? It was kind of hard, right? It took a while, but eventually got it, right? So practice. Maths is about practice. You guys have to practice your questions. Let's do the next one here. So this is another one that came as an exam question previously. So F is 9 over 5 multiplied by C plus 32, and we want to make C the subject of the formula. Now, F, let's put everything as a fraction. This is 9C over 5 plus 32 over 1, right? So if you want to get rid of the fractions, all we do is to multiply everything by 5. So this is going to become 5F is equal to 9C plus 32 by 5. You're going to get 160. Right? Let's go back and see what we're trying to make the subject. We're trying to make C the subject. So just like in the previous question, I'm going to write 9C plus 160 is equal to 5F. Right? So 9C is equal to 5F minus 160. So therefore C is equal to 5F minus 160 over 9. Right? So this is just another example. Right? Again, this requires practice. Now, the next thing you guys need to be able to know how to do is something called variation, right? And what you're doing here in these particular questions, you are translating between a worded statement and an equation. So if we see a question like this and it says y varies directly as x, what that means is that y is proportional to x, right? So you have to be able to translate between the words they're given in the question and some expression. If they say y varies inversely as x, right? What that means is that y is proportional to 1 over x, right? So you need to know direct proportionality in the exam and inverse proportionality, right? So let's look at this example here quickly. So they said, this is an exam question as well. So the table shows the variables x and y, and they said, look, y varies directly as x, right? So the first thing you need to do, you need to translate that into an equation. So y varies directly as x, you're going to start off with this. Y is proportional to x. But the thing is, you can't solve this unless you get rid of that proportional sign. So what we do, we replace the proportional sign. So the sign here, right? It's called a proportional sign. Right? What we're going to do, we're going to replace it with an equal sign, but every time you do that, you must introduce a constant into your equation, right? So this is my equation that's relating these two variables x and y equal kx. Your objective in the question is to figure out what k is first of all. And in order to do that, I need to know a value of y and a corresponding value of x. So if you look at your table, look, they gave you a piece of information here to find k, you know. So what we're going to do, we're going to find k first of all. So y is equal to kx. That's what we're starting off with. But we know that when x is equal to 2, y is equal to 12. We know that. So we're going to substitute these two numbers into that equation. So therefore 12 is equal to k multiplied by 2. So we can say that 2k is equal to 12. So k is equal to 12 over 6. I'm sorry. See, I kind of rush any question. 12 over 2. Right, so this is 12 over 2. So therefore k is equal to 6. So you know what k is now? K is 6. So therefore you know what the equation is. The equation is y is equal to 6x. And now we're going to use this to work out anything they ask us to do. The question says find a and b. So let's find a and b. So we know that when x is equal to 5, right, from the table, y is equal to a. So therefore a is equal to 6 multiplied by x, which in this case is 5. So therefore a is equal to 30, right? So we just worked out a. Next thing we need to do, we need to figure out what b is. but we know that when x is equal to b, y is equal to 48, right? So we're going to substitute this into our equation. So the equation is y equals 6x, right? So therefore 48 is equal to 6 multiplied by x, but x is equal to b. So therefore 6b is equal to 48, and therefore b is equal to 48 over 6. So therefore b is equal to 8, right? So this is how you attempt a question like this. Right? I'll just looking at the responses to this, right? For this particular question here, your answer, if you work this out, you might get something that looks slightly different, right? But when you simplify it, it's going to be the same thing. So for this particular question, you might see more than one answer, right? So some of you all might work it out and get something slightly different. Now, this one as well was a recent question, right? So the volume of a gas varies inversely. So varies inversely as the pressure, right? Write an equation relating V and P. So when they tell you something like this, you are starting off, it varies inversely. So it's 1 over P. Once you see the word inverse variation or inversely, it's 1 over something. Next thing, we don't want a proportional sign. So we have to replace the proportional sign with an equal sign, and that becomes K over P, right? So in part 1 here, when they said write an equation relating V and P, so for part 1, you're going to say the answer is V is equal to K divided by P. That's my answer. Part 2 now, they said if V is 12.8 and P is 500, determine the constant. So you're working on part 2 now. So part 2 is saying, so you know that when V is equal to 12.8, right, P is equal to 500, right? And what do we know here? Right, so we're going to substitute into this equation here. So 12.8 is equal to K divided by P, which is 500, right? Now that 12.8 could be written as 12.8 over 1. And I'm going to cross multiply again. So K by 1 gives me K, and then I have to work out 500 multiplied by 12.8. So therefore K and K is going to be 6400. So that's my value for K here, right? And then the third part now, they want you to calculate the value of V when P is 480. So the thing is, we just worked out K, right? So my equation is actually 6400 divided by P. That's my equation. So what we're going to do now is substitute the value for P here now. So P is equal to 480. So P is 480. So therefore V is equal to 6400 divided by 480, right? And that's going to give me 13.3 as my answer. Right? So that's how we work a question like that. Alright, so I see some of you all saying you got 6400. Great. Now let's look at another one here, right? This is another kind they can ask you. So they said you have two variables, A and R, and A is directly proportional to the square of R. Now, when you have a question like this, you have to be careful. So A is proportional to the square of R. It's direct proportionality, so therefore it's proportional to R squared. That's what that means. So A, we remove the proportional sign. You have to put an equal, and then you're going to have K. So it's KR squared. So in part 1, when they say express A in terms of R and K, it means that A is equal to KR squared. That's my answer for part 1. Typical thing, they're going to ask you to find K. We need to use two variables that we know. So we know A is 36 and R is 3. So what we're going to say is when A equal 36, R is equal to 3, right? So you're going to use that. So what we're going to do is say, we're going to substitute that into our equation and figure out what K is. So therefore 36 is equal to K multiplied by R squared, which is 3 squared. Now this is a mistake that students make. They would have put K multiplied by 3 and forgot to square it, right? So 36 is equal to 3 3s are 9, so this is 9K. So we can say 9K is equal to 36, right? Work this across here. So therefore K is equal to 36 over 9. So therefore K is equal to 4, right? So if K is equal to 4, it means that my equation that I'm working with is A is equal to 4R squared. That's my equation, right? And then they said copy and complete the table, which means they want you to work out this and they want you to work out this value here. So let's look at something here. So this is the third part we're working out. So when R is equal to 5, we need to figure out what A is. We don't know what A is, and that's what we're trying to work out. A is something. So A is equal to 4 multiplied by R squared, which is 5 squared, right? So that is 25 by 4. So A is going to be 100 in this case here, right? So this is the third part we're working on. And what else? What else? So we work this out here. So this here is going to be 100. So we need to work out this one here now. So when A equal 196, we need to figure out what R is. We don't know what R is, right? So we're going to use our same formula we have on top there, which is A equal 4R squared. So 196 is equal to 4R squared. And we're going to try to solve this. So we say 4R squared is equal to 196. R squared is equal to 196 over 4. R squared is equal to, so 196 divided by 4 is 49. Therefore R is equal to square root of 49, and therefore R is equal to 7, right? That's my value. R is equal to 7. Right, so I was kind of gauging for about an hour and a half, but I have a little time still, so let me do a next simultaneous equation for you guys, right? So let's look at the simultaneous equation here. We have two equations here, and we realize you have 3x, you have 2x, so it's not that easy to eliminate x, but then you have 2y and you have 5y, still not that easy to eliminate. So in your mind, you have to decide, what am I going to eliminate? Am I going to eliminate x or am I going to eliminate y? Right? Let's eliminate the y because I want to make sure you all understand how to do this question properly, right? So let's call this equation 1 and call this equation 2. So when you have nothing in common between your x or your y, what you do, I will take my equation 1 and I'm going to multiply by 5, right? I'm multiplying by this because I want to eliminate y. So if I multiply by 5, I'm going to get 15x minus 10 is equal to 50, right? The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my second equation, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply by 2. So this is going to give me 4x plus 10y, I missed out a y here, hold on, is equal to 26, right? So what I've done there, you realize I have minus 10y and I have plus 10y. What am I going to do to eliminate y? So my question is, what do I do to eliminate y? Am I going to add or am I going to subtract my two equations here? Let's call this equation 3 and call this equation 4. So what am I doing to eliminate y? So I'm seeing two people saying we subtract, right? Well, actually several people saying we subtract. So let me show you what you all saying, right? You all telling me to eliminate y, I need to add. Let's see if that makes sense. Minus 10y, sorry, you all tell me to subtract, right? Subtract is what you're telling me. Yeah, you're all saying subtract. Minus 10y minus an x 10y. But I'm not eliminating anything here. I'm getting minus 20y. So therefore, I cannot subtract the two equations. But if I add them, if I have minus 10y plus 10y, look, I'm getting 0. So this here is the correct thing. I need to add the two equations. So therefore, equation 3 plus equation 4, right? That's this and this, I added them. So that's 15 plus 4, right? Will give me 19x. Minus 10y plus 10y will give me 0. And this here will give me 76. So therefore, x is equal to 76 over 19. So therefore, x is equal to and I'm going to get 4. So guys, you see that mistake there? Be careful. You have to add in this particular case, right? So x is equal to 4, right? So I saw somebody got that as already for the answer. Next thing we need to do now, we need to figure out y. So we can substitute y for x into any one of the equations. So we can say substitute x equal 4. I usually just go for the first equation, right? Into equation 1. Right? And what I'm going to get here is 3 multiplied by 4 minus 2y is equal to 10. So this is 12 minus 2y is equal to 10. So minus 2y is equal to 10 minus 12. Right? So minus 2y is equal to 10 minus 12 gives me minus 2. And therefore y is equal to minus 2 over minus 2. Therefore y is equal to 1. So my answers are x equal 4 and y is equal to 1. Right? So somebody named Fresh Universal. Yeah, that's correct. Alright, so let me do a few more questions for you here on factorizing as well. So let's look at this part 1 here. We have x, y cubed plus xy cubed plus x squared y, right? And you want to factorize. So when you factorize here, we're looking for things that are common to both of them, right? So we have x and we have x squared. So the HCF of x and x squared is actually x, right? And you have y cubed and you have y. So the HCF is actually y. So therefore, what we're going to put inside the brackets here now, this has to be y squared plus x. So this is how I factorize part 1, right? This is factorizing using the HCF method. For part 2 now, because you have 4 terms, that already telling me here what? This is looking like factorizing by grouping, right? Whenever you see 4 terms, that is typically factorizing by grouping. So this is 2mh minus 2nh minus 3mk plus 3nk. When you're factorizing by grouping, you group terms together and then you factorize them. So if I look at my first 2 terms here, these 2 terms here, what we have common there, we have 2 that is common and we have h that is common. So therefore, this is going to be m minus n, right? Don't put your sign here as yet. Look and see what is common to this and what is common to this. So what you have common there is actually 3k. But since we know this is going to be factorizing by grouping, right? This has to be m. This sign has to be the same as this here. So it has to be m minus n. Now you decide what sign you're going to put here. So if you want to get back minus 3mk, this has to be a minus sign. Because 3k by m will give me minus 3mk. And minus 3k by minus n will give me plus 3nk. So therefore my final answer is going to be m minus n in one bracket, and the next bracket is going to be 2h minus 3k, right? So this is how we factorize by grouping, guys, right? Let's see, I have a next one here I could give you. Yeah, I could give you a next one. Let's look at this one here. The first one here, this one, let's see how we can factorize that. So that is 5a squared b plus ab squared, right? The only thing we have common here, we can pull out an a and we can pull out a b, and this is going to be 5a plus b, right? This is how we factorize it. So this is the HCF method of factorizing, guys. This next one here, you have two terms, and the two terms are squared terms. So this is going to be 9k squared minus 1. You can write that as 3k squared minus 1 squared. So therefore, this is the difference of two squares. So my answer is simply going to be 3k plus 1 multiplied by 3k minus 1, right? That's how we factorize this one here, factorizing by grouping. Somebody asked me how much they pay me to do the exam. I didn't feel they could afford me, babe. The third one, we want to factorize, let's see, 2y squared minus 5y plus 2. That's a quadratic, right? We're going to factorize a quadratic here. So just like we did it previously, I'm going to call this is my a, this is my b, and this here is my c. I'm going to find two numbers whose sum, right, is equal to whatever b is. So my sum is minus 5, and my product, right, is equal to, what I have to do is say a multiplied by c. My product has to be 4. So we're looking for two numbers whose sum is minus 5 and whose product is 4. Those two numbers are going to be minus 1 and minus 4. Because if I take minus 1 and I multiply by minus 4, I'm going to get positive 4. Minus 1 plus minus 4, I'm going to get minus 5. So my next step is to replace whatever b is with those two variables we have there. So we're going to write 2y squared minus y minus 4y plus 2. And then I'm going to factorize this. So the first two terms, all I can pull out is y. So this is 2y minus 1. And then the last two terms, all I can pull out is 2. So this is going to be 2y. And we have to make this minus 1 for the brackets to be the same. So this has to be a minus sign here. So therefore my answer is going to be 2y minus 1 by y minus 2. Alright guys, so this brings me to the end of session 1, right? So thank you guys for showing up. Like I said, this is just a free session for anybody who wants a last minute revision, right? So the next session, right, is going to be tonight at, I think the time I'd set it for was 8 o'clock, right? Yo, that's it. That's it. We finished there for now, right? So the next session will be tonight at 8 o'clock. I think it's 8 o'clock, right? And then we have one tomorrow at the same time, 12:30, and then one on tomorrow's Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. So we have a few more sessions. We have 4 more sessions, right? So like I said, I give maths, chemistry, and physics classes as well online, right? So anybody interested, you all can always message me, right? I think I have the number in the video as well, right? So you can see it there. So guys, enjoy the rest of the evening. I hope this was helpful for most of you all, right? If not, well, you're gonna have to practice some more, right? So I will see some of you guys later, right? Joshua is asking, so, right, so they didn't ask you to solve, right? So all they asked you to factorize. Yeah, sure. Regular lessons it will be on Zoom. Normal classes tomorrow, right?